can have some like very big cultural differences between Chinese people and Western people. I think the main reasons is because Western people have the tendency to think more individualistically, and the Chinese have the tendency to think collectively. I think this is probably a lot due to the history, and that's something to be considered, but you'll always find that like opinion isn't always liked here. Kind of people have the Chinese people have the tendency to go and do the same things as what another Chinese person does. So like for example, if you were teaching like an English class and one person said it's a laptop, the next person will say it's a phone, and the person after that will say it's an iPad, and the person after that will say a laptop. So they don't like to kind of show their own thought, because they don't want to embarrass somebody by making them feel stupid, or kind of showing it off that they're smarter than somebody else. So they don't really like to do that. And then another thing that kind of can be quite strange is they will never tell you when you're doing something wrong. You'll always get the feeling that you're doing something that's quite strange. So you might do something that you think is acceptable by your Western standards, and then you'll have this feeling that everybody around you thinks that you're acting a bit strange, like a funny foreigner. But you can never quite tell what it is, because you can't, in your mind you're not doing anything wrong, but in their mind they might think that you're acting quite strange. So if I was to first like come to China and I didn't know what was going on, some good advice would be to keep your head down and just work things out, because all the time you'll just find kind of strange cultural differences just in your day-to-day life. Also, people will never say anything to upset you. They'll always agree with what you've said. So and you can kind of tell that really they kind of don't. They're just saying it just to kind of please you. And also I think as well, if you had a group of foreigners together, I always find that Chinese people always kind of listen into what you're doing, or try and figure out what's going on, because they're always quite intrigued to see how Westerners think. They do very much work as a group, which is like a very big difference compared to what you would expect in the West. They're always thinking about others, which is quite nice. But it's usually the little things that are the hardest to get the gist of. And then as well, you've got the Chinese traditions that can be quite difficult to kind of get used to if you're a foreigner, like Chinese medicine, the strange foods. There's lots of little tiny Chinese traditions that you can't quite get your head around, like family traditions as well. I mean, that's another good thing though I think about Chinese people, is they're very like family orientated, and you know, they're always, you know, they are good family people, which I think is much better than in the West, because I think that the family system in the West is kind of collapsing a bit, and it's not like what it was traditionally in history, like years and years ago, a mum and dad and 2 kids. It's, you know, people kind of fall out, whereas over here I think family is a very important thing, and the people tend to stay together. So yeah, you've got to always kind of be aware of that. And then there's lots of small things, so like if you were to visit somebody's house, you've always got to make sure you take your shoes off. You know, they're always quite lenient and quite understanding of the fact that you're a foreigner. So actually, to be honest with you, I would always recommend to try and eat their food, but if it's a bit too difficult for you, I think they'd understand, and maybe you could just mention the kind of foods you like before you go and have dinner with them or whatever, to avoid it. But I think the Chinese people on the whole are very understanding. They think collectively, so they always think about other people. Opinions, once again, is just something that I would avoid, because I don't think they want to hear it, and opinions are always divisive anyway, so what's the point of bringing it up? They're the two main things. If you could please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.
踏着沉重的脚步，归乡路是那么的漫长。当身边的微风轻轻吹起，吹来故乡的